This is a point when state governors are crying out for bailouts based on their inability to pay workers' salaries. Do you think this is justified?
Yes, with the collapse of the major revenue generating sector of the economy, that's petroleum, which literally has halved the revenue coming, more than half, I think it's less than, probably only for about 40% of what the previous revenue is coming now. Definitely, at all levels of government, there will be financial stress. Even at the federal level, there is financial stress. So the states are justified to ask for bailout. But we must also point out that some states previous administrations of some states had borrowed or overborrowed or borrowed too much from the financial institutions that literally has wiped out whatever revenue they have. Some states overborrowed. And that was the problem of some previous governments in those states. So the current governors are sitting down, their predecessors took all this loan, they are now going to have to pay. This is what has been noticed in some of the states.
Would the agitation for the review of the revenue sharing formula address some of these issues raised by the state governors?
Not completely, because the problems of the states stems from the very dramatic reduction in revenue across the board. So even the federal is also suffering. You could have expected a revenue formula to change the state of the states if the revenue was so large and a large percentage of it is held by the federal. Bringing it back to the states will help the states, but that's not the case. The case is a very dramatic drop in the revenue caused by the drop in crude oil price. The revenue formula may do some slight adjustments to the states, but the federal government is also carrying out a large amount of responsibility. Security, foreign affairs, internal affairs, transport, health, agriculture. The list is quite large, and therefore all these have to be analyzed. And the cost of doing those services, the Constitution has granted the federal, and also the states and the legislature, and the local government councils. You have to assess them, and that's the kind of research that's done by the Revenue Commission to determine how much of the revenue pie that the federal government would need to do its own work, how much will be required by the states to do their own work as the Constitution has granted them, and also to the local government councils, because the Constitution has drawn up, the exclusive list and the concurrent list, etc., etc.
What can be checked to curb the unbridled borrowing by some state governors?
Yes, the federal government can, through the CBN and through the Ministry of Finance. Foreign loans have to be approved anyway by the federal level, at the federal executive level. That's foreign loans. Domestic loans can be controlled by CBN. CBN can give banks some kind of guidelines and instructions as to how much they can borrow anybody, or lend to anybody, sorry, not borrow, lend to anybody. So I would assume that the Ministry of Finance and CBN can set up mechanisms for controlling the indebtedness of states.
Some people have questioned why the RMAFC should fix salaries for the public office holders alone and not for the public servants. And this might be due to the fact that they live in the same economy. So the RMAFC should also factor in the conditions for the public servants and with the same with the political office holders.
Yes, but there's a very great difference between political, judicial, and legislative office holders and the other members of this public service. The other members of the public service are employed for some system controlled by either the Federal Civil Service Commission or the service commissions of, like the Police Service Commission, the National Assembly Workers Commission. They all have various commissions that cater for those cadres. And they are coming in for about, if they have their full life of work, for 35 years. The others stay for 35 years or retire at the age of 60. Now, their system is completely different with their pensions and gratuities and a lot of other aspects that are relevant to them. The political, judicial, and legislative office holders come in for a term, probably a short term, 4 or 5 years, maybe 8 or whatever. And you're now asking them to leave what they're doing to come in and work. You must give them a living wage. You must provide revenue, provide in their remuneration for them to be able to provide a comfortable accommodation for themselves, and also motor vehicles and some other aids that they need. That is what makes the whole remuneration package. And the Revenue Commission doesn't just recommend remuneration just arbitrarily. The Revenue Commission does a lot of research. It may take us up to 6 months to 1 year to even change these packages, because we have to do a lot of research internationally. We have to do a lot of research in Nigeria, cost of living. We have to use Nigerian consultants to study the Nigerian economy itself and then prefer what we think is a living allowance for somebody to live where he is, come to Abuja and do this work, which is a highly sensitive job. And most of the people that are supposed to come and do this job are people that are supposed to be highly trained or experienced and qualified, and in many cases a large wealth of experience.
Now let's look at the scope of operation of the average public servants. They work for 30 days while the lawmaker sits for 2 days to perform its legislative functions as well as oversight. So is this fair in terms of remuneration? Isn't this rather too outrageous and lopsided in terms of what the average Nigerian worker earns and what the average lawmaker earns?
I don't think so. The graduate that we said has come to work from grade level 8 is probably a fresh graduate, no experience. All right? It's only people that have worked for 5, 10, 20, 30 years that you say have garnered experience. A young graduate certainly is coming with qualification, but no experience. 2, the public service that has a completely different system of catering or looking after its workers. You've got the remuneration they earn while they are working, and then a very comfortable pension that they will receive when they retire. And if they work for 35 years and they retire, some of them would be on pension, I think, of up to nearly 80 to 100% of their former salary. So the judicial, legislative, and political office holders don't have that kind of a pension that they will go back and fall on. The only pension granted in the Constitution is for the president, vice president, governor, and deputy governor. They go with their salary for life. That's their own pension for doing that difficult, dangerous job.
Now, looking at the salary, the annual salary of the Nigerian lawmaker, which is 12.76 million naira per annum, and that of the minimum wage of the public servants, which is 18,000 naira per month and 216,000 naira per annum. That means for the public servants to earn what the lawmaker earns a year, it takes him an average of 58 years to earn that amount of money. Isn't this unfair on the public worker?
Again, you are not being fair and balanced in this. The 18,000 minimum wage is for unskilled labor. And I repeat, this is unskilled labor. Not that I'm looking down on unskilled labor, but this is the remuneration for unskilled labor. And you can't compare unskilled labor with qualified and experienced people sitting down and passing laws. They are completely different, kettle of fish. And even the 12 million you mentioned per annum is not ultimately what is going to be take-home pay end of the month. A lot of these are also taxable. So they will probably end up with far less than that.
You may also join in this conversation by sending us your comment on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Coming up on Question Time. Is Nigeria really in recession? Find out from the Commissioner, Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission, Shetima, Umar, Abba Gana, after the break.